Now I have a pleasure of introducing to you David Nemmers, and his presentation will be Exit Well. David is the former president and CEO of Mid-State Security Company. That's a nationally recognized top 50 security integrator. He thrives on challenges that expand a company's reach and help them stay consistent with their values of integrity, innovation, and impact. David has held executive and strategic roles with a lot of companies, but I'll just highlight a couple here. Gill Industries, Great Lakes Computer, and S2 Yachts. He has served on nonprofit boards and is an avid runner. Armed with a finance and accounting degree, David considers his greatest strengths as culture development, leadership, and goal alignment through team building. Please help me welcome David Nemmers.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here. I need a little grace today. Believe it or not, I've had some health challenges. In February, I ran I call it the health trifecta. I got the flu, I got bronchitis, and I got pneumonia. So doctors zapped that all out with some antibiotics, and I was like, oh, I feel pretty good. So I took a quick trip down to Florida. One of my hidden indulgences, I love the Detroit Tigers. So I went down, caught a spring training game, got some Florida sun, thought that was great. Flew back with my wife. We both got COVID. So had COVID for 10 days. I'm testing negative, so don't anyone worry. But then Wednesday, I got 3 injections into my lower back because of all the running that I have done over the years. My body is fighting back. So I will probably sit for a little bit. I may stand a little bit, but if I wobble a little bit, it's because of the injections in my lower back. But Jeffrey, Teresa, it is great to be here. I love CBRT. I love their mission. I love their passion. I love what they do because it's a safe place to exchange ideas. It's a place where we can hear testimonies about people's walk with the Lord, and Jeffrey, I just commend you for your leadership and your vision for this. So, quick survey. I always want to know who's in the audience. Now, I'm not going to get you to stand up like Ian. I'm not going to make you exercise. Okay, Ian actually made me sweat a little bit. Ian, that was tough for me with my bad back. But what I want to see, how many people here are business owners? Just raise your hands. Oh, that's great. How many of you consult or advise businesses? That's great. And the balance of you are probably working in a small business or a business. So this talk hopefully is for you. So my first question is 6%. What would you do if the odds of success were 6%? So kind of depends, right? Would you fill out a March Madness bracket if you had a 6% chance to win? Yeah, I'd probably do that. If there was only a 6% chance that your child was going to get through college, would you encourage them to go through college? Maybe. Maybe not. If there was a 6% chance you might not make it home today, would you have actually got out of bed? Maybe not. Or if there was a 6% chance that would you own your business for over 10 years and you could actually sell it. Those are the odds. Now, some people don't like my fuzzy math, so I go, it's fuzzy math. And it's funny how people want to argue with me about this. And it's like, okay, let's have a conversation. So how do I get 6%? 6%, I took 2 stats. Around 20% of businesses fail within the first 2 years. About 50% fail within the first 5 years. And 65% fail within their first 10 years. Boom. That's tough. And my buddy Dan Porting can actually probably vouch for this, only 1 out of 5.5 businesses listed gets sold each year. So if you make it for 10 years, it's 35%. And then if you go get it sold, you got 1 out of 5.5 or 18%. You put those two together, what do you get? he gets 6.3%. Now, I get people who argue with me, and I say, okay, well, let's look at it a different way. If you don't agree with my fuzzy math, let's not have an argument. Let's make an assumption. Let's assume 100% of businesses survive. And we all know that's not true. Okay, 100% of businesses survive. The odds are still only 18% that you actually get it sold. Now look at the housing market. In August of 2024, 99.2% of homes in the U.S. sold for at least their list price. So here we got this tremendous asset of a business that we're only successful at best 18% of the time compared to the housing market. I think we have a problem. So despite all these odds, and these are huge odds, 5.5 million businesses were started last year, or an average of about 15,000 per day. Okay, everyone do me a favor. This is a joint thing. I want us to count to 6, okay? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A business was just born every 6 seconds. So despite all these odds, and by the time I'm done talking, depends how long I talk, there'll be like 600 businesses started. 600. And here's the amazing thing. Over the next decade, 4.5 million businesses will need to be transitioned to new owners with an estimated value of $10 trillion. 4.5 million. Guess what? The private equity guys are having problems too. And these are the really smart people. These are the guys with the big degrees, the Ivy League educations, okay? The first one was out of Bloomberg. Private equity calls in experts to fix firms they can't sell. Ooh, that's a problem. And over there, and Business Insider, the great boomer fire sale. And that validates some of the numbers I just showed you. So how did we get here? How did we get in this mess? Well, I've got a chapter in my book called Sobering Stats. So 66% of businesses have no plan for transitioning to new owners. That's 2/3. They got no plan. 80% of owners have not enlisted in any outside help with the transition. They're doing it on their own. This is the one that's really scary. 98% of businesses do not know their current estimated value. 98%. I will tell you, at Midstate Security, I knew my value. And I would talk to business brokers, I would talk to people in the marketplace, I would understand what drove my enterprise value, but most people don't. This one's even scarier. Only 25% were confident in their current management team. Means 3/4 were not confident. And only 30% of businesses are successfully transferred to the second gen. I just talked, where's Dan? There's Dan over there. He talked to me about his business. They transferred successfully from first gen to second gen. That is really hard to do. So Dan, I applaud you and your dad and you and your brothers for a successful transition. Here's a scary thing, and I'm in this bucket. I was in this bucket. 40% of small business owners have all their net worth in their business. For me, it was about 95, 98% of my net worth. My financial advisors looked at me and said, this may not end well, okay? So that's why I wrote this book. This is why I wrote this book, Exit Well, because I wanted to help one more. It wasn't to get on the bestseller list. It wasn't to make money. I don't think you write a book to make money. It was really to help one more. If I could help one more small business, okay, create enterprise value and do a successful exit, then it was worth it. I want to increase the odds. The goal is really simple. Turn your business into a great company, which has value that someone wants to buy. So you're probably asking, how did a guy with zero industry experience sell his business to the 7th largest employer in the world? I sold my business to Allied Universal. They have over 800,000 employees. They are 15 billion in sales. And you know what? I don't have an Ivy League education. I don't have a master's degree. Was fortunate. I was able to go to college. My parents didn't have a lot of money. My dad had a ninth grade education. He was a journeyman electrician. We were on welfare for a while. So was it just luck? Did this guy from West Michigan just get lucky? Or was there a method to the madness? So what's the formula? And believe it or not, I was talking to Chase here. In this day of high tech, believe it or not, I'm pretty low tech. And I'll share a little bit of this with you. And it's more back to the basics, because I think we've forgotten the basics. What do they do in spring training in baseball? First thing they do, they go back to the basics. Let's cover first base. Let's cover up behind the runner. They go back to the basics. But there's another thing my methodology has that people don't like. It's another 4-letter word that people don't like. It takes time. It takes time. And in the world of Amazon Prime, it's not real popular. And I will challenge you, when I walk you through this, you're going to go, oh, that just makes my head hurt. But if you want to do it well, it takes time. So I always start with this, and Ian actually started one of his slides with this. Simon Sinek wrote a great book called It Starts With Why. And I challenge people is, what's your company's why? It's not what you do. It's not how you do it. But why do you do it? This is important because you want to make sure your team, especially your leadership team, lives out your company's why. And this impacts your value. And our values at Midstate, I still remember them 5.5 years later. Integrity, innovation, impact. And you know what? They were on every single performance review. If you did not live out our values, you were not part of our team. And some people I had to release to other opportunities, but we lived our values. Someone asked me, goes, well, did you hire an expensive consulting firm to help you create your values? I said, nope. I said, I did them myself. Because this is what I believed in. Because I wanted to be reflective of my beliefs and in our why. Now, this is what I love what Sinek said. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. So I'm going to say that one more time because I think it's really powerful. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. Because guess what? The security industry, there's some technology involved, but just about anyone can hang a camera. Just about anyone can put a card access system in. And why did we have 12 years of consecutive growth? Why did when Allied Universal bought us said, this company's really, really special? Because we understood our why. So here's 3 quick whys. Apple. It's got nothing to do with technology necessarily. With everything we do, we aim to change the status quo. Southwest Airlines. We're the champion of the common man. At Midstate, I made my team, my leadership team, go through this book with me. And I made them write down, what do you think our why is? Now, I would love to tell you and boast here that everybody agreed what the why was. Okay? I had one who just couldn't get there. But our why was we value people. We valued our customers. We valued our teammates. We valued our stakeholders. We valued people. And if you think about it, we were in the security business. That makes sense. So once you've defined your why, now it's time to build your foundation. And your foundation is your leadership team. But you know what? And this gets pretty unpopular at times. It's probably why I don't have a ton of clients. It starts with the owner. It starts with the president. It starts with the CEO. John Maxwell, one of my favorite books, I make sure everyone who works for me reads, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And there's a great section. His number one law is the law of the lid. Your leadership ability will determine the impact that you have in the organization. Your leadership ability. It's not the person underneath you. It's your leadership ability. And when I lean into CEOs and owners here, oh, they pucker up. I tell you, they don't like to hear that. So how do you raise your lid? Your organization will never become a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 if you're an 8. If you want your organization to get to an 8 and you're a 5, you'll never get there. So how do you raise your lid? Get some input from your team in a confidential manner about you. I did this. Oh, an incredibly humbling experience, and I write about it in the book. They told me the things I was really good at, and they told me the things I wasn't good at. And they told me some of the things that I needed to get out of the way to let them do them. And once I understood what I did well and understood where I didn't do that good a job, really helped us move forward as an organization. That was a humbling experience. Invest in yourself. And you guys are doing this right now. You're taking half a day off of work, and you're investing in yourself. But I would continue to do it. Continue to challenge yourself with leadership training. Another thing, bring on an advisory board to help you hold you accountable and provide input. And word of advice, pay your advisory board. You got to have a little skin in the game. You know what they say about free advice, how much that's worth. Hire a strategic coach. I did that. My good friend John, it was like getting a colonoscopy every 3 months. Holy smokes. It was tough. But John really helped me. He could look at things outside of my day-to-day activity and really gave me some clear direction. Bring on a private equity partner. I did it twice. I had 2 separate private equity partners. You know what? They made us better. They made me better. I drove them crazy, but we made each other better. And don't bring on yes people. Don't. Bring on people who will tell you like it is. You may be the lid on your organization. It starts with you. So, if you want to exit well, you've got to have a fully functional leadership team that executes well. And here's some hard, cold facts. You may need to replace members of your leadership team. When I bought Midstate, at the end, there was only one executive left from the original team. They had to move on. Everyone else had to move on. They need to believe and live out your why. You maybe need to hire and promote new members of your leadership team. And you got to invest in your leadership team with training and coaching. One thing you'll hear me say a lot, I love to read. I read as much as I can. And my wife for my birthday got me a first edition of this book called My Experience in the World War. So this is by General Pershing. And if you guys, quick history lesson, we're entering the war now, and we're going to move a couple of million men. The American army at this point is 138,000 men. And we're going to create this American army, and we're going to move 2 million people over to France. And President Wilson said, General Pershing, you're my man. And it's a 2-volume book, and the first volume is just on logistics. And I know I'm a little bit of a nerd because I really like that, okay? But it was on logistics. Think about the logistics of moving 2 million. You got to get them supplies and hospital and the sanitary and rooming them. It's fascinating. But what fascinated me with Pershing is he had all these old officers. And guess how many of his old officers he's brought with him? None. He brought none. And as he addressed his new officers, his first meeting with all this, he's got his 600 new officers. He said, you may have the best military training. You may have great courage. But I need officers with one quality. And that quality is the will to win. Now, you may call it different. You may call it tenacity. You may want to call it perseverance. You want people on your leadership team with a will to win. And that will make a huge difference in your organization. So my book centers around, after you've got your why, you've got your values, you're investing in yourself, you're building your leadership team, it revolves around the 3 C's. common language, cadence, and culture. And if you do these 3 C's well, and I hate to say it, it takes time, you can turn your business into a great company. And people buy great companies. Okay, the first one, common language. There's the story in the book, I take it actually out of the Bible, about the Tower of Babel. Okay? Common language creates better organization clarity and greater teamwork. So here's the question I always ask people in their organizations. Does everyone understand your values and is accountable to them? But then here's the big one. Does everyone in your team knows what success looks like? And when I go into a new company, guess where I go first to ask someone about what does success look like? I go to the lowest paid person in the organization. And usually it's someone maybe in the warehouse or a part-time person. And I say, what does success look like for the company? For the team? For you? And a lot of times, you know what the answer I get? I didn't get fired today. Oh, I didn't get fired today? And does everyone know what a successful day looks like, a week looks like, a month looks like? For, again, the company, the team, and them. So you've got to understand at every level in the organization what success looks like and developing that common language. Because what you do is if you can get everyone from the CEO to the lowest paid person to understand common language and success, you harness the energy of the entire organization. And when everyone's working together, it's a powerful tool. So now, what I want to leave you with is I don't want to leave you with a lot of theory. I'm not a great theory guy, okay? I want to leave you with practicality. So how did I show common language to my team? It's really low tech. You guys are probably going to laugh at this, but that's okay, because it worked at Midstate. Everyone can spell bus, right? B-U-S. Pretty darn simple. My 6-year-old granddaughter can spell bus. So this is what I did at Midstate. I made the Midstate bus. And we looked at 3 measurements. Again, this is about common language. Common language. For us to be successful, we had to book orders. So those were bookings. Okay? For us to be successful, we had to utilize our manpower properly. And for us to be successful, we had to build our recurring revenue stream. And that was our SaaS. B-U-S. And I'd have this bus, and I'd write in there, again, really low tech. If it was green, we were on track. If it was in red, we were off track. And then you'll notice 2 other measurements there. Accelerators and brakes. Accelerators were customer compliments. Brakes were complaints. And I would share with the team every week what happened when we got an accelerator and what happened when we hit the brakes. I had this in the warehouse. I had this in the lunchroom. I had this in the common area. And guess what? Every single week, it got updated, and everybody knew how we were doing. It was the Midstate bus. Cadence. What's your corporate cadence? What are the things you need to do over and over and over? I'm a runner, even though I got a bad back. The best run I ever had, I came within 7 minutes of a Boston qualifying time. For a man my size, that's like, there is a God, okay? Because that's a miracle, okay? That is an absolute miracle, okay? But for me, it was about cadence. I run the first few miles slow, and then the next kind of 18, 19 miles, I'm at the same steady pace. It makes me really, really efficient. So what are the things you need to do in your organization over and over on a regular basis? Major in the majors, not in the minors. So here's an example. And what cadence does, it reinforces your common language. And it helps you define success. So I would start every year. We'd have an annual corporate launch meeting. I bring everybody together. I do quarterly in-person updates. I do monthly email updates. And every week, I would publish something called Wins for the Week that highlighted what we did well for the week. And it would always reinforce our common language. It would always reinforce our commitment to our customers. One of the things I did that helped us with our sales growth, and my sales team hated it, 8 a.m. Monday morning stand-up meeting. Think how popular that is with the sales team. But every Monday morning, we'd come into the common area, and I ask a real simple question. What did you get done last week? And what are you going to get done this week? You got 3 minutes. And nobody wanted to tell the owner of the business, I got nothing. But we also did something else that was pretty fun. I went to Meijer, and I bought the biggest rawhide bone you ever saw. I mean, it was a rawhide bone built for Clifford, okay? And then I put a big chain on the bone. And every week, I gave out the Big Dog Award, okay? And it was a rotating award. Now, you're going to laugh at this again. I'm pretty low tech. And I thought they'd laugh at me at first. And at first, they go, boy, Dave, it's just one of this crazy old man's ideas. But you know what? They started to wanting to win the award, okay? And then, this is funny, they started to sign the bone, okay? So all of a sudden, these guys, and the guy who won it the previous week didn't want to give it up for the next week. And so you just created this competition. And it was, and the stand-up Monday morning meetings didn't become burdensome. They were a great checkpoint for our sales team. And it was a great checkpoint for me because I could find out in 15, 20 minutes what was going on with my team. We would do things like biweekly project managers meetings. We were always up to date on our jobs. Our corporate calendar reflected our corporate cadence. What does your calendar show? What's the cadence? I've got a client, network security. He does an 8:45 all-team check-in every single day. Network security's moving so fast. He's got to do that. That's his corporate cadence, and he's seen great results with his team. But here's the death to cadence. The death to cadence is inconsistency. If you want to demoralize your team, start something new, and then stop it. Do it again, and then stop it. Guess what? They won't believe you when you start something else again. Death to cadence is inconsistency. Culture. I love this. I love this by Drucker. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Anyone can copy your strategy. Nobody can copy your culture. Common language is necessary to build a culture. Cadence is necessary to reinforce your culture. Culture is the secret sauce. So I asked Allied. Here, they're a $1 billion company, and they're buying Midstate, and we're nowhere near that size. And I asked them. I said, "What's our secret sauce? Why'd you buy us?" Now I will tell you, full confession, I thought they were going to say me, but wasn't the case. Wasn't the case. He said, the secret sauce is your culture, Dave. Your secret sauce is your culture. And our culture at Midstate was really simple. It was all about the customer. We were passionate about the customer. We were insane about the customer. One quick story. Early on, I bought the business, and we had done a project up at a man's cottage, and he wanted cameras in his pole barn. And we were doing some trenching, and we ruined one of his trees. It was in the scope of work that he was liable if the trenching didn't go exactly well because we had to get a line to the pole barn. Well, the project manager came to me and said, "Hey, we're gonna wrap up this job. Just want to let you know we ruined one of his trees." I said, "What type of tree did you ruin?" He said, "It was a flowering pear tree." I said, "Don't close out the job." Next day, I put on a pair of blue jeans, put on a dirty shirt. I went to the nursery. I picked up a flowering pear. I grabbed a couple bags of dirt, and I grabbed a shovel. And I went up there and I took care of it. When I came back, it was like, okay, should I put my suit back on when I came back? No. I came back in the office in blue jeans, a little dirty, because I wanted to show the team that taking care of our customers mattered. And that set an example. Again, I shared with you, I published Wins of the Week. I did it for every week for the last 10 years. Everyone knew the Wins of the Week. I highlighted great stories of success by individual name, and I sent it out every Sunday night. So you know what? Every Monday morning, that was in everyone's inbox. So I get this question asked a lot. How do you create a faith-based culture in your organization? First, kind of like the law of the lid, it starts with you, your decision to follow Christ. I decided to follow Christ decades ago, and it's funny how God uses things in your life to lead you there. I wish it was as an incredible story as Ian's was, but I love to read. And in my theology, I would call it like mythology, if you want to say it. My theology before coming to Christ was I just needed to be a little bit better than the last guy going to hell. Wow. I always wondered, how did I know who's the last guy going to hell, right? What was that all about? Okay, so, but I was like, well, I ought to. If I love to read, I ought to read the most widely published book in the world, the Bible. And as I read the Bible, I was convicted that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And I got on my knees and accepted Christ. And as you lead your organization, here's the question I've got for you. Do you lead by the wisdom of the world or God's wisdom? There's this great verse in 1 Corinthians. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness in God's sight. So as a business owner, a small business owner, it's tough. You guys who raised your hands, I know how tough it is. You're dealing with HR issues and tax issues and bank issues and employee issues and the latest government compliance stuff. It's tough. And I always wanted the formula. Just tell me the formula to be a faith-based company. Just tell me the formula to create enterprise. Just tell me the formula so I can move on and do it quickly. I'm not going to give you a formula. I'm going to give you 3 questions. When was the last time you got your hands dirty at work? Quick story here. We had a huge project, Huron Valley Women's Prison. We did a lot of homeland security projects, a lot of prison work. Largest deal we did at Midstate. It was, I think the original was like $8 million, and I think it turned into a $15 million project. So fence line, security, cameras. They wanted all the storage to be on site. It was a massive project, and we were behind. We were significantly behind. And we had a performance bond related. So if we didn't get this thing done on time, it was going to be a problem. So we needed more manpower. And to work in a prison, obviously, you got to have a background check. And you just can't get anybody to go work at a prison. Because I owned the company, I already had a background check. So I told the project manager, I said, I'm coming out tomorrow. So I got in my car, and it's in Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti area. So it's a 2-hour drive. I got up early, got my blue jeans on, and guess what? I worked in the fence line. I dug a trench. I bent pipe, and I threaded pipe. 98-degree heat, 55 years old. Guess what? My team loved it. Interesting, because we're digging around the fence line. You gotta have guards, right? So one of the guards comes up to me and goes, "Hey, can I talk to you?" "Sure, you can talk to me." He goes, How long you been with the company?" So I've been with the company about 10 years. He goes, No. How long you been doing this? I said, "What time is it?" He goes, it's like 10 o'clock. So I've been doing this for about 3 hours. He goes, "What do you do for the company?" I said, "I'm the owner." He goes, "That's it. This is Undercover Boss, okay? This is Undercover Boss." And I look at him and I go, "Wow." I said, what was the giveaway? He goes, "I've never seen a technician use hair gel." Okay, so moral of the story is, okay, if you're Undercover Boss, don't use hair gel. Okay? And I went back another day. And the team loved it because they knew one thing. I was in it with them. I was in it with them. So, when was the last time you made a decision that was foolish in the world's view? Ooh, I made a lot of those. Drove my board crazy. So, couple examples. I had a business partner. At the end of the day, I ended up owning 100% of the business. But I had a business partner when I first bought the business. This is in 2007. Ever remember what happened in 2008, 2009? Right? Great recession. So our sales, and Dan Portiga helped me helped me buy the business. Our sales got cut in half, and we had done a highly leveraged buyout. Okay, I put no money into the business, and our sales just got cut in half. Oh, this is a disaster. So my partner and I decide one of us has got to go, and he looked at me and he goes, "How do you want to do it?" I said, you know what, let's just do a Dutch auction. I don't know if anyone knows what a Dutch auction is I'll set the price, and you either give it or take it. It's that simple. No negotiations. So I looked at my partner, I said, this is the number. It was 7 figures. And he looked at me and he goes, I'm buying you out. Ooh. Okay, it's like, did I go too low? Right? So he says he's going to buy me out. He puts the deal together. He gives me the stuff on a Friday evening. And I'm going to come in Monday. To leave, pick up my stuff and leave. Sunday night, so the day before I'm coming in to leave, he got run over by an SUV. Broke every bone below his waist. He was a triathlete. So as I'm coming in Monday morning thinking about leaving, I have to lead. So we make the announcement. I'm now leading the organization. I'm then going to try to buy him out. Guess what? I got laughed out of every single bank in West Michigan except for Merck. Okay? I got laughed out. Because here was the proposal. Okay? I did a highly leveraged buyout 18 months ago. Okay. I've got no personal equity. Okay. Our sales have gotten cut in half. Okay. And my partner just got run over by an SUV. And I want to borrow 7 figures. Okay. I had one bank meeting last 5 minutes. Okay. They were laughing so hard. Okay. So I'm in serious trouble. I gotta want to buy out my partner, okay, who's in the hospital, he had a number of surgeries. I don't know what to do. So I keep putting my head down, and believe it or not, business turns around. And we get sales back up to where they're supposed to be. But along the way, and I think you guys will remember this, who remember the Great Recession, our employees had to take furlough days. You guys remember furlough days? So they had to take unpaid days. But once we got caught up, we had more money in the bank. So I had a decision to make. Do I save this money to help buy out my partner, or do I pay back the furlough days? You know what the world said? The world said, you got to save the money to help buy out your partner. And I did just the opposite. Christmas Eve, it's on the internet. The news ran an article on it. I paid everyone back their furlough days plus some. Oh, one of the best moments of my life. One of the best moments of my life. But here's the interesting thing. A private equity firm out of Holland, the DeWitt family, they saw the article. And they said, we got to help a guy like that. Next thing you know, a week after I paid back the furlough days, they're in my office saying, we want to give you the money to buy out your partner, and we only want 20%. And I was like, what? I need you to buy out 50% of my partner. No. We love what you're doing. We want to be part of it. But here's the money, and all we want is 20%. I was like, that's God's economy. That's God's economy. Didn't make any sense what I did there. Okay, here's another 4-letter word that people may not like. Do you love your team? I didn't ask you if you liked them. That's a difference. Do you love your team? Because love is an action, right? God so loved the world that what did he do? He sent his only son. It's an action. And how do you know? How do they know you love them? So a quick example. I think you asked a question about unique circumstances with employees. My HR director, Jane, was a wonderful person, but she looked at me and goes, "Dave, you're a walking HR violation." Okay? She goes, I gave her more headaches than you would believe. Because I just do things until someone told me I couldn't do things. And sometimes I still did them. So we had a gentleman, been with the company 40 years, sales guy. And he was suffering from Alzheimer's. He was 18 months from retirement. And he was a burden to the company. He was placing the company at risk. Again, we're a security company, and he needed to go, but it was hard for me to let him go. So what I did, because I don't see problems, I see opportunities. I saw this as an opportunity in which I could actually love this guy. So what we did is we stopped paying him his commission. We accrued his commission, and the following year, while he was off, okay, we would pay him that commission, and he had full health care till he got to be 65. Now, I don't know if my HR person back there, I might have violated a dozen rules there, but you know what? Nobody said anything. And I got to take care of him. Another example, I had a teammate. He'd come in Monday morning. He'd been separated from his wife. He's estranged from his kids. And he was in a dark place. Dark place. And he was living in a room in a not a great part of town, hanging with people you shouldn't hang around with, drinking, doing drugs, womanizing. He was in a bad spot. So I come into his office and I say, "What's going on?" And he shared with me, and I said, "You know what you need to do? You need to move. You need to get out of there." He goes, "Dave," because I don't know where. I said, "You find a place where you can move to that's healthy, and you know what? And I will help you move. I'll get the U-Haul. I'll come over on a Saturday. We will pack things up, and I'll get you in a good place." And we did that. And guess what happened to this guy who was leaving? I almost want to say he was leaving almost a demon-possessed life. 2 years later, he's in Kenya volunteering to dig wells. And then he also preached the gospel on the deserts of Kenya. And I don't want to say it's because I helped him move one Saturday, but maybe that was the catalyst. So the question again, do you love your team? Okay, these because I'm a data geek, I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. But when you look at your financial statements, do they tell you where you've been? Do you tell you where you are today? Or do they tell you where you're going? And how old are your financial statements? Financial statements are a rear view mirror look. So I give my clients this test. If you were removed from your business for 6 months, I put you on a desert island, no internet, okay? And you come back, what are the 6 measurements you'd like to look at that tell you where you've been, where you are today, and where you're going, but you can't look at your financial statements? What are those 6 measurements? And if you've got them in your head, you ought to be tracking them now. You need to look at leading and lagging indicators. You need to create a corporate GPS. Tracking, reviewing, and improving your key metrics goes back to the 3 C's. It defines common language, it creates cadence, and it builds culture. Here's some examples. This was our weekly management report. And you can see, we looked at our cash. We looked at our tech hours. There's my utilization rate. We looked at our backlog for installation. We looked at sales. We looked at our 80% opportunities. We knew every week where we were. We knew every week if we were going off track. Here's another part of what we looked at. We looked at service. We looked at invoicing. We looked at court services. We had a central station. These down here, these are the seconds of response times for burglary, fire, holdup, and medical. I wanted to know every single week how we were doing. And we got so good at this is that people would come into my office before I'd even got the report and tell me what was going on. This was our monthly KPI. So we would look at each area would have three metrics. So here in service, we looked at chargeable hours to goal and against prior year. And you can see, and we color code it. Yellow, we were usually within 10%. Green, we were on track. We looked at revenue per hour worked. We looked at value add per hour worked. You can see the same thing on the installation side. Again, I was fanatical. It's going to be interesting who's more intense, Ian or me. I think Ian's a little bit more intense than I am because I've mellowed in the last 5 years. But I was obsessed with these reports because they told us where we were going. Okay, so now you understand your why. You've built your leadership team. You've defined your common language. You've got corporate cadence. You've built a solid culture. You defined your leading and lagging indicators. Now what? This was the tipping point. This was the tipping point. So how did I make things roar? Variable compensation plans. Scares. Oh, this tells me I'm done. I love this. If you pick the right people and give them the opportunity to spread their wings and put compensation as a carrier behind them, you almost don't have to manage them. And we did this with everybody in our organization, and we took off. We took off like you wouldn't believe. You know what? It reinforced our 3 C's. It improved our customer experience. We had some of the highest paid employees in the industry. We made more money, and we created more opportunities for all. Some do's and don'ts of variable comp plans, keep them simple. Don't cap them. Every time I see a CEO who caps a variable comp plan, I want to hit him in the head. Don't cap the plans, okay? Write them down, share the calculation, and align them with your KPIs. Our sales increased, our margin improved, and our EBITDA went 3x. Okay, your key to your business legacy is a great exit. You are only a steward of your organization. Lessons I learned, you know what? Tell the team in person. I see so many owners, they just send an email. Share. We shared 7-figure bonuses to the team. Sometimes the demon got on my shoulder and I said, Dave, you worked awfully hard. You ought to keep most of that. But you know what? They worked just as hard as I did. So we shared 7-figure bonuses and help in the transition. Don't get in the way. So here's the end before we're going to have 5 minutes for questions. Let's turn that 6% or 18% success rate and just move it in the right direction. Let's make it one more company successful as they transition. So thank you. Questions, and we could have questions on decision to sell, selection of the acquiring company, comp plans, metrics. We've got about 5 minutes, and I'm open for any questions. I can keep talking. Any questions? It is extraordinarily difficult. Oh, here, you got to come up here a second. No, this is not bad. No, this is good. I've got a gift for you for the first question. Okay, you get the book. Okay, and you can open this later. This is a limited edition Exit Well mug. There's only 50 of these made. Okay, whether it's worth anything, I don't know, but you get the mug as well. Thank you. You're welcome. So great question. Buying an existing business and changing the culture is extremely difficult. I actually read a survey, and whether it's accurate or not, they says it takes about 5 to 7 years to do that. But it started with me. It started leading by example, and then, quite frankly, getting rid of some of the leadership team that didn't believe in what I believed in. But it's a hard process, and especially what was hard for me is because I didn't know the industry. So, but the great news about not knowing the industry, I was hungry every single day I went into the office. Because every single day, I had to prove to that team that I could lead this organization in an industry that originally I didn't know a whole lot about. That's a great question. I also gotten a question as, what's easier, doing a startup or buying an existing business? I don't know. they're both fraught with challenges. One, I bought something that was scalable. The other one is you can build it your own way. You pick which one's easier. I went the scalable side, but it's challenging either case. How am I doing on time? Am I over? I got one more question. I apologize. I played this so tight. Anything else? Did you get a takeaway? Did you at least get one takeaway? Okay. Yeah. Any questions? Okay. Beautiful, guys. Thank you for letting me share. I've really enjoyed this. I'll be around after we're done if you've got any specific questions. And again, thank you for the opportunity to share.